Ice cream is definitely one of my all-time favorite treats. It's hard to imagine, though, being in Parma, Italy in 1992, coming into the lab and enjoying my favorite treat, which might have even been gelato, I would like to imagine, in Parma, Italy. And the monkey that is hooked up to different electrodes because we're doing a study, and they all light up because I'm eating an ice cream, not because of anything the monkey is doing. That's exactly what a researcher experienced, which led to the exciting discovery of mirror neurons. Yeah, the monkey's brain was firing as if it was reaching for a banana, when in fact, the researcher was enjoying an ice cream. So, everything we know about how our brains work, and it holds the key to why some conversations feel like battlefields while others flow like rivers. And it took me a little while to learn that that's how it all connected. So today, we're going to revisit a study from long ago and a conversation around mirror neurons because I find them fascinating and how it might be something you should think about the next time you're about to have a difficult conversation or are wanting to be able to connect on a whole different level. I'm glad you're here because I think we're going to get a lot out of this today. Welcome to The Grit Show, where our focus is growth on purpose. I'm your host, Shawna Rodrigues, and I'm honored to be part of this community as we journey together with our grit intact to learn more about how to thrive and how to get the most out of life. It means a lot that you are here today. As you listen, I encourage you to think of who may appreciate the tidbits of knowledge we are sharing and to take a moment to pass this along to them. Everyone appreciates a friend that thinks of them, and these conversations are meant to be shared and to spark even more connections. Mirror neurons is something I'm sure I've discussed previously on The Grit Show. I find them fascinating, and the research that was done by Giacomo Rizzolatti at University of Parma and his team in 1992 is where they were first discovered. It was discovered that brain cells that fire both when a monkey performed an action, like holding a banana, and they fired the same when they observed that action. It's basically copycat neurons. They literally mirror what they see. And that's why we call them mirror neurons. And as it turns out, humans have mirror neurons, and they are actually even smarter, more flexible, and more highly evolved than those that we found in monkeys. So it's actually an important part of understanding human behavior, how we learn things, how we interact, and who we are. And always found that study fascinating. And recently, through some work I've been doing with some personal coaching, have been able to take that and really start to apply it to some other things I'm passionate about, like difficult conversations, because you know that I care about those. I care about you having them. I care about myself having them. I care about those that I coach and work with having them, and to make them easier. And it's really helped me realize that by better understanding and using the story of mirror neurons and the way we discovered them, that we can all better understand how we can get ourselves in a place to make conversations easier. And that mirror neurons are the key to that. That research has helped us learn that people who are more empathic have stronger mirror neuron activation and possibly more successful conversations and interactions as a consequence to them. You might wonder why some people have an easier time, and this might be the key. Because emotional contagion is a thing, and mirror neurons are why and what is happening to make that happen. So these neurons don't just copy actions, they actually help to mirror emotions, intentions, and essentially energy. So when we talk about the energy you bring to a conversation, who you are, the energy you bring into the room, it does make a difference. And that's why how you show up can be so much more powerful than all your other intentions sometimes. And getting yourself into the right place and having the calm you want to bring can be a key to having successful conversations and better connections. And when you're a little confused about that, just remember the monkey and the ice cream or the banana and think about how, hey, if that can happen, this can happen. So getting yourself into the right place can be the important matter. I'm sure we've all been there when we go to have a conversation and it feels like it's going to be hard. We feel like we've been judged. We feel like we don't know how to approach it. We're uncertain. We're unclear. It can be with our child. It can be with a sibling. It can be with our closest friend, a colleague. There are so many situations where we can have a conversation or a situation where we're just not sure how to approach it, and our inner judge has come out, and we're judging them and judging the situation. And when we come into that conversation, it's just like we lock heads and we're not getting anywhere. We're both trying so hard to explain and nobody's listening and understanding and getting to a different level. And part of that is because when we come in with our judgment turned on, with our defenses up, that's what the other person mirrors instantly. They sense that and their neurons fire up those parts to prepare them before we even begin. So if we come in from a soft place, from a vulnerable place, from a place of connecting, from curiosity, as we've also talked about before, right? If we come in that posture, in that place, they're able to mirror that and set themselves up for that so they can listen and understand. But if we're trying to explain, if we're judging, if we're trying to prove something, they're going to try to prove something. They're going to be judging. They're going to be doing those same things back, and neither of us are going to get anywhere. And that's why the tension is contagious. And we feel like we're stuck and we're just locking heads and locking horns and getting nowhere. And that can be the reason why, if we back up and see that calm can also be contagious. Curiosity can also be contagious. Understanding, true listening can also be contagious. And so really, one of the most important things we can do when addressing something is to shift into that place and be in that position. Just today, I got to practice this very thing because I had a circumstance. We've all had this circumstance, probably in modern times, right? Where I had erroneous charges on one of my cards. But this time, it was a business debit card that I never use. And so instead of rolling with it, right? Like I'm used to those things. It hasn't happened in a long time with a credit card, actually. I feel like they're so on top of it now with credit cards. But I went back to probably the first time it happened with a credit card where I just didn't know how to handle it. And there was multiple numbers to call, steps I wasn't familiar with. They said they'd shut it off, but they still let the charge through. All of this confusion for me. And the second person I talked to, I started the conversation with that curiosity, that vulnerability, the coming in soft instead of coming in hard, because I paused because I was supposed to be recording this podcast episode and actually utilized what I was going to be talking to you about today, talking to you about how that matters. So even on a phone call, because I wasn't doing it in person, I was able to use my voice and my modulation and my words to let them know that this is where I was coming from and that this was the place I was going to come from, instead of the defensive, frustrated place I was with a different person who gave me the phone number to call that I called that didn't work, that I had to go online and get another number to call that by the time I was talking to them, I did need to downregulate and get myself to a place of curiosity and openness. So hopefully they would be in a place to meet me there so we could resolve this and move forward instead of being that place where I was defensive, I was frustrated, I was feeling wronged and not able to be in a place to resolve and be open to what is. This happened, and let's find a way forward together, right? And so what you bring, the place you get yourself in, is the most important thing you can do. Taking that extra time before I made that next call was the most important thing I did in all those interactions, because me getting the right place actually made it so that it was quickly resolved on that call instead of being another battle on that next call, because I got myself into that place to invite that other person in there with me instead of starting it with defensiveness and frustration, as I'd escalated into in the previous call when I had to call additional numbers and they couldn't help me and couldn't take care of the things I needed to have addressed. So it's important for us to recognize where we're at and how we can use to our advantage the awareness that how we come across and where we're at can be mirrored, and we're in a better position if we can get ourselves where we want to be and invite the other person to join us there, because that's the best way it's possible. If we come in with judgment and frustration and anger, they're going to meet us with judgment and frustration and anger. And our judge is our first response. That's something new that I'm learning and going through this coaching stuff with positive intelligence. And with this positive intelligence approach, that's part of understanding that everyone has the judge as their first response to things. And when you have that inner judge come out, when it's activated and your critical thoughts are activated, that's where you are. And even if you think that you are pushing them down, which I think for a lot of my life, especially in my mid-20s probably, when I thought I knew a lot and had a lot of judgment, even when I thought that I was tamping those things down, I'm sure I was activating that in others. The body language, the tone, the energy that I had was probably igniting mirrored neurons in others and bringing out them possibly judging me more because of what I was bringing to the table. And unconsciously, there was judgment and defensiveness that probably went into a lot more conversations than it needed to, because I wasn't aware that I thought the words I was saying was most important, that my professional demeanor was most important. But that inner judge was there, activated, and being mirrored in the people that I was trying to work with and undermining me that entire time. So it's valuable to be aware of what's working against you, right? So what is our strategy? Because strategy is an important part of getting around this, right? As you're hearing it, are you thinking of how you would handle this, how you do handle this? The first step really is to catch your state, right? For me, it was to recognize that I was in a worked up state before I made that next phone call, to recognize my body, that there was tension, that if you can even check your facial expression and feel what you're feeling and acknowledge that instead of just shoving it down and moving to the next thing, to actually acknowledge what you're feeling, because that is the very first thing you have to do to even be able to shift that state. And if you listened to our episode last week, that there is a second part to that I'll make sure that we have that in the notes for last week's episode. So you can actually go and listen to the second part when we first recorded that with Matt McKinnon talking about burnout and those pieces. But we talked about emotions and completing that cycle, right? And the importance of that. So the first state of that as well is to just acknowledge what you're actually feeling and what your state is. And the quick ways to shift is to take deep breaths or just get into your body. To actually, the cool one that I've actually learned from this stuff with positive intelligence is actually just rubbing your pointer finger and your thumb together and just feeling the ridges. Because just doing that brings you back into your body and gets you more focused. I worked with a therapist long ago when my mom was going through her breast cancer and her melanoma. And that was the first time that I really found somebody that I worked well with. And one of the ways she would help ground me was to take me through each of my senses, to go through, what do I see? What do I hear? What do I smell? What do I taste? What do I feel? and like bring you back into your body a little bit. And it was at the time, my inner judge had a hard time with that, but it was still helpful. And those techniques are helpful. So trying to find the places to kind of bring you back, to take yourself down a notch, and just those little things of your senses being your way to bring yourself into the part. It's actually shifting you into a part of your brain. So it's not just like bringing you to your body, it's actually shifting to a part of your brain that can better recognize and regulate yourself, right? And that maybe it'll be helpful for you to remember the mirror neurons are watching. So when I go to approach my child, they're going to see things I don't think they can see because their mirror neurons are sensing things on a level that I'm projecting that I don't even know that I'm putting messages out there that they're like receiving. And so I need to be in that space. I need to let that tension out of my body. And maybe I need to take a walk. Maybe I need to take some deep breaths. Maybe I need to do another activity before I have this conversation so I can get into a space where I can have this conversation. Because if I'm feeling this, I'm going to be projecting this, and their mirror neurons are going to be responding to it, right? And so we've talked about difficult conversations some, and about the importance of things about genuine curiosity, and it has to be genuine, right? You have to get to the point where you're not going to sarcastically say those things. I used to be known for my sarcasm, so I can relate to that. You're not going to sarcastically say, yeah, so what are you thinking? Why did you do that? That you're actually genuinely curious about their approach and why they took that approach and where they're at with us. You genuinely want to know and in a place to listen so that you can have that genuine, authentic approach to things and to be there to model the energy you want to see. And so in those situations, I know we had an episode, Holding the Calm, with Hesha Abrams. She was fabulous. And she talked about like deliberately bringing people down by matching their energy and then slowly stepping down to bring them down. So she was using the mirror neurons. She was like meeting them where they were at and then taking them down with her by slowly calming down from there. And then to be able to do that with somebody, that you can be there with them and not doing this constant mismatch, right? So if a child is upset and distraught, like you don't give them bright, shiny faces. You give them that sad face and show them that you connect with that and then slowly transition to being in a better place, right? So that you're able to connect with them and those emotions and mirroring that affect to a place to bring them to where you want to be in that energy in that place. And just overall recognizing that. So when you're at work, right, instead of being in that place, when you see them, to recognize the dangers as well, right? So when you walk into a room and you can feel the tension and your mirror neurons are lighting up, to then take the time to like downregulate them and to bring those down, because your neurons are going to go there. They're going to mirror what's happening in that room, the tension that's there. And so you have to kind of go to that place and then pull it down and bring people down with you. And to be able to have that conflict, but then be able to pull it down and to be able to recognize that you're going to want to go there because your neurons are firing in that direction and feeling that. And so if necessary, that's why we talk about taking a break and resetting your energy, because you want to be able to come in with that calm, to bring that calm so people can mirror that and see that. Is this resonating with you? Is this something you can feel and think of those times you've been in situations where you wish things were there, but you weren't sure how to do it, and your energy can do it. You can bring them there. And so when you're having a difficult conversation, that you being calm, your receptiveness, your respectful approach is something that can connect, and people can connect with that and bring that from the start when you walk in and have that. So you have more control than you think. And your brain's like able to respond to that and bring them to that same place. And there's the danger that you'll go where they are. So you need to like watch where you are and know that you have the ability to bring it there and have that sense that you can take it to that place, because you can calm yourself and that can bring somebody else down as well. So the big takeaway, right, is to check your energy and to get yourself in the right place and to not just keep powering through. If you're drained, if you're tired, if you don't have the place, if you're feeling a lot of discomfort around this conversation, check in with yourself and get curious with yourself about, what do I need to do to be in the right space for this conversation? What am I judging here? What is this judge like bringing to this conversation is going to make things hard, right? So make sure you're giving yourself space to be in the right place, to have the conversation, to have the approach. And even, especially with kids, if you have kids, to like take the time to regulate and bring you both down, because you guys can both come down together, right? And in the conversation, if things are kind of going a different place, to be able to like, how can I bring myself down and how can I bring them down with me? Like their brain's copying mine. Like, am I being defensive? Am I being judgmental? Because I'm seeing that with them. Is that because that's what I'm, even on a subconscious level, am I putting out judgment? Am I putting out defensiveness? How can I bring down the defensiveness? How can I bring down the judgment? How can I work on doing that to bring this down? Because every conversation is a choice between letting your mirror neurons work for you or against you. And if you're the person who understands the science, you have the superpower, the ability to influence not just what people think, but how they feel and respond. And the ability to join them in a way that can be so powerful. And just remember that just like the monkey in the lab in 1992, they didn't choose what to mirror. Their body just automatically did that, right? And so your awareness that this is happening gives you the power of choice to be able to then see what state you want to be in and give you the ability to help invite others to join you in that. So it's not just about pushing through, right? It's about using the science of connection to transform these conversations and transform your interactions. Because when you can use your mirror neurons to your benefit and when you're aware of them and the power they have, you don't just change the conversation, you can really change your relationships and how you interact with the world. So take that minute to quell your own discomfort instead of just stuffing it down, because how you show up really is the most important part of your interactions. And you have the ability to regulate that, to check in on that. And that first step, so this is our actionable thing. The first step really is to acknowledge that, to catch yourself, to see when you're in a state that you don't want to be contagious, right? So just like when you're like, oh, I have a runny nose, is it, seasonal allergies, or do I have a cold I don't want to pass on? Like, when are you in an emotional state that you don't want to pass on? And use it as your barometer to figure out, okay, this isn't an emotional state I want to pass on. How can I get myself into a state that I want to pass on? How can I have the energy that I want to put out in the world, that I want to share with others? And to recognize that it is contagious. It does spread. Just like the smiles on the street, right? You see somebody smiling and you smile. Like, what energy do you want to be putting out there? And to start catching yourself and recognizing what that energy is that you're putting out there. And then as you start to recognize it, you'll be in a place to start to decide what you want to do with that. And then you can take it to those levels. If you already feel like you got that, then you can take it to those levels of checking in before the conversation and deciding how you want to show up in those conversations. It's like one of these things that we keep doing in our lives, right? It doesn't just start there, it keeps going there. So you can see where you're at. And if you're at the stage of A, okay, I'm just going to start noticing. I'm going to start noticing how I show up and where I'm showing up and how that can be contagious and what I want to be projecting out that others will mirror back to me. And if you're like, oh, I got to sense this already. So I'm going to start like paying attention to right before I'm entering conversations that are challenging and how I walk into them and what I can do to shift myself to a place of curiosity and connection and being present, and what I need to do when I have that discomfort, when I have that uncertainty, like what I need to do, who I need to connect with to be able to be the most available and to know how I want to be present in those conversations and to continue to ramp up how you're using this to your benefit. Because that's the whole point of it, right? You're learning these things so you can change how you interact with the world and make your life a little bit better. That's why we're here. And I am so glad you made time today to listen to this and better your life in even just a little way. I'm getting excited because we're getting to the point where summer is coming to a close and we're going to start having all new material. Isn't that wonderful? So thank you for being here as I've had to kind of do things a little less as I've been taking care of me. I'm getting there. I'm coming back and I'm glad you're still here. Thank you. I value the time we shared together today. Thank you for making time to be here and to continue taking steps towards growth and bringing more ease into your life. I'd love for us to stay connected on Instagram at Shawna Podcasts or at the.grit.show. There's even a link in bio at the.grit.show where you can send me an email to let me know what you thought today's episode. Hearing from you helps to make the effort that goes into producing these episodes worthwhile. After all, you're why I'm here. And since it's been a while since you've heard this, you are the only one of you that this world has got. And that really does mean something. I hope you realize that. I'll be back again soon, and I hope you're following along or subscribed so that you'll know and be here too.